Hello everybody, welcome back to this lore discussion I'm having with Nobbell and Ross. We're going to jump right back into the conversation. We left off last time just starting with the Emerald Nightmare, so without further ado, please to enjoy. Have you guys done the highest tier rating yet? Like, I haven't, so I don't know if there's a secret at the end of the Xavius boss fight, if there's any lore tidbits in the
I've
actual
only killed
raid.
3 bosses in normal right now, so that's all I've had time for.
I've been able to do normal, but I'd imagine that if Mythic has something special, MMO Champions would be buzzing with it, and
right?
I've heard
Yeah, it
nothing
would have been
about
on
it.
there. Well, then I guess we can talk about this, because even though Xavius and all that stuff is cool, I think the biggest thing from this raid was the Il'gynoth whispers that everyone was jumping on. I know you made a video that it's so cool, the whispers. So I have them in front of me, and I figure we should go through these because, unless you want to talk about the raid, how do I describe this? I like the raid, but I was disappointed that it wasn't what I visualized, either the nightmare or the dream being.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Right,
and
yeah.
that is especially when you're in Xavius' room, the highlight, this is the core of the nightmare, and you see nothing but a little bit of fog. Whereas the books has it described as these insect creatures crawling over you and forming whatever nightmares in your mind. It's so gruesomely described, only to have it like that. It was one of the first things I said as well in that room. So definitely a minor point for that.
And here's the crazy thing. What you just described, I think, is done super well in the first boss. The first boss is a dragon with insects, like, forming its body.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yes,
yeah.
and then when she falls down, the insects swarm out, and they swarm back to her. I was like, this is such a cool boss fight. But you're absolutely right. The rest of it, though, there's some cool visuals, like when you see Thunderbluff, like, floating in the air. That's cool, but it's not how I ever visualized this place being. And I had hope that when you fight Cenarius in the background, there's that giant, like, whirlpool of, like, darkness, and it's like the swirling red in the sky, and I was like, oh, whatever's in there, that's gonna be super trippy. No, not really.
It's a white room. Enjoy.
Yeah, it was kind of disappointing, and I was like, I mean, all right, it's just not how I envisioned it. It's been hyped up for so long, and we saw those old photos from back in the day of what it was gonna be, that all of that put together, I was like, just not really what I thought this was gonna be.
Even drawing the fog away and just make the room what it turns into, just red, would have been better than the fog room, in my opinion.
Yeah, or go like a totally different, wacky way. Like it's just a solid, like it's just white. Like there's not like something that's trippy.
Like the Matrix.
Yes, something that's trippy and out there and weird because you're in a not reality place and run by this guy who's just a twisted form of himself. Like there's so much they could have done with it, and what they did with it, I was like, no, this is just not how I visualized this at all. After the many years of playing this game, not okay with this.
Yeah, it was really the bare minimum. And when it comes to the bosses, I like the story arc overarching. Like, I like the whole being corrupted by Nightmare, and some of them are fallen back. What do you think about the nightmares of the Dragons of Nightmare, by the way? The world bosses from Classic. The female dragon is once again back in the raid, even though during the Cataclysm, she mentioned that she was never, ever, ever going to get close to the dream ever again. She was going to find her way amongst mortal life.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't believe that they ever give an explanation as to how she showed up there. I was told that the other 3 dragons are apparently her nightmares that are helping her out, which makes sense because those other 3 were actually obliterated, if I remember correctly, because Tyrande tried to cleanse them, and they were so taken by the nightmare there was nothing else to cleanse but the nightmare. So I like that detail, if it's true. I haven't really done research on it, but I wondered why she was there. I was kind of curious.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I did not even
I didn't even
think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one ever thinks back that far into vanilla when there were just dragons chilling out these portals in the 4 different areas of Azeroth. Like, no one...
It was so much fun.
Yeah, people
Yeah,
would go
that was so
attack
cool.
those and farm and be like, oh, if you just beat it, you can get inside the Emerald Dream. And everyone thought there was a secret way to get inside. Man, those were the days. Shit, we just ate some member berries and we're feeling real good right now. Remember? Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's really cool. I actually will look that up the minute we're done.
And this, the same if you're going on the research stream of us. Yeah, if you're going on research. The same is for the backstory of Shaladrisil and actually why there is a nightmare there again. Because the nightmare, we discussed this last week as well, it came back with Xavius. We don't really know why. But even Shaladrisil, to my knowledge, has not been explained. Like, why is the World Tree there? Or why did it get corrupted? Why exactly at this place? It's a little bit kept in the dark there.
Yeah, there's definitely things that we need answers for, and I don't know that we'll get them, but especially since we just finished the raid and we are answerless still. So
Exactly.
I'm curious what we'll get there. But we were given more questions by this raid, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think the Old Gods are one of my favorite parts of this entire franchise right now, because man, are they just fun to dick around with and see all the cool stuff they have, and all their story and everything that's just associated with them is just so entertaining to me. And now we have another layer of mystery added on by Il'gynoth, which is his whispers, or its whispers.
Yes, I haven't seen him yet, but I am aware of the whispers. I don't know what they are, but please go through them.
I say we just go down this. There's a list that I got, and they all refer to something. Some of these are clearly obvious, and some are a little more vague. And then I went online and found I looked up every single thing. Well, first off, everyone should go watch it because it's great. But I looked up every single thing that had to do with Ny'alotha as well. All the whispers regarding that. So we'll get into that too, because that might be something we'll see in the future. So, okay. The first whisper that I thought was interesting was, flesh is his gift, he is your true creator. So is this a reference to Yogg-Saron or
Yes, this
Loken?
is...
Yeah, definitely.
This goes back to the whole Chronicles, if you remember the bit where Yogg-Saron and Loken infested their creations with the Curse of Flesh.
Yes.
And that went out, they were sent out, and then the curse started spreading. That's basically what it means. Flesh is his gift. The Titan creations were turned into fleshy beings. Mechanomes into gnomes, for example. Vrykul into the humans as we see them today. And therefore, this corruption, and we should also establish that this corruption is basically a mean of the Old Gods, we should say. And to his point of view, or its point of view, the Old Gods created us. We are no longer truly the children of the Titans. We are now also quite a bit Old God in us.
I mean, like, humans, for example, are just very, very corrupted versions of Vrykul.
Yeah,
and
pretty
that,
much.
like, down the timeline. And, I mean, I'm just saying, the only ones who aren't are trolls. Just putting it out there, guys. Just putting it out there that trolls are truly the pure race of Azeroth. So, it's true.
I mean, so are Murlocs. I mean, if you want to mix yourself up with those.
I do. Are you kidding me?
That's fair.
I very much do. All right, so the next one is to find him, drown yourself in the circle of stars. This might be the only one that I don't know what this means.
Yeah, that's yeah, okay, I think I watched your video on this. Yeah, I remember watching this now. No fucking clue, and I'm sure everyone is trying to drown themselves right now, so, yeah.
Mission accomplished. Everybody's murdering themselves. We can go home. Oh, did you want to make a guess, by the way, Ross?
I mean, there was the toy, I forget the name of it. Do you remember the name of that?
The
that
puzzle
old god
box.
toy?
The puzzle box of Yogg-Saron,
box.
yeah.
So everyone seems to think that it's something to do with that, and
Do you think it could be as simple as this is
know.
a hint about the thing that everyone already unlocked? Where you have to find the little like the orbs that are stars, maybe, quote unquote, and that's how you find him by going underwater and find. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a hint to that. I don't know, but I literally have
that
no
could
clue
be
what this
it.
could be.
I've seen screenshots from people from the Shaman Order Hall that looked up and they saw a circle of stars and they were like, maybe we need to drown ourselves in the maelstrom. And I was like, go ahead and try it, maybe.
Yeah, good
Who
luck.
knows? Then there are people that are connecting it to the Sudama raid, which is connected to another whisper about dying 3 times. Apparently, spoiler alert for the Sudama raid, if we're going to fight Elisande, she is going to reverse time 3 times. And they were connecting Sudamar, Court of Stars, Circle of Stars. They were connecting it to that place. But a general conclusion is we have no idea.
Yeah, this is it's an interesting one. The next one, the King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. Man, would that be exciting for me. I would love for that to be true. That our good dwarven king is actually not talking to the planet and the Titan, but actually just old gods, which would be so exciting for me. Oh, I would love for that to be a twist. I don't know that it's true.
I think that's I don't know. It seems kind of like self-explanatory. Like I would buy into it, to be honest.
But it
Like,
also could be an old god just messing with you, right? Like they work
That's
with
true, that's
with
true.
toying with your mind, so it may not be true, but man, would it be great if it was.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, but isn't this a meaning of an old god? Should we trust it? But do keep in mind that, for example, Yaxaran, if you go inside his brain, you get like 3 visions, and all of those are true. So just because it's connected to the old gods doesn't necessarily mean that it's lies. And the turning into the pawn is most likely Magni Bronzebeard, turned into a crystal.
Right.
And then your connection, as in the old gods are whispering to him. What about the suggestion that he is truly talking to the spirit of the Titan inside the planet, her, except she has been taken over by the old gods?
Interesting. So it's already too late. Is that what you're saying?
Never too late, but perhaps they have been able to take her over.
That's
An
cool.
old god Titan. That's scary.
Oh man, yeah, that's very cool. The next one, the Lord of Ravens will turn the key. Man, do I want this to be about Medivh? I don't know that it is. It could be about Kortalos. I'm not sure who this refers to at all. But
Could
man,
be
am I...
Khadgar, you don't know.
Yeah, it very well could be. But when I hear Lord of Ravens, I don't immediately... It took me a while to hit that Medivh mark, but I was like, oh, maybe that's what they mean and we're actually getting Medivh. But most likely not. I don't know. I'm very curious what you think.
They are bringing Karazhan back, so Medivh is not completely off the table. But I've heard Odin. Apparently in mythology, Odin is also being referred to as Lord of Ravens.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I didn't even
Odin,
put that
yep.
together. Yep, you're absolutely right.
But can you imagine
yeah.
Odin coming down out of the Halls of Valor and be like, okay, you got these Titan keystones? Let me turn the key for you. I don't see it happening, but you never know. We're just speculating here. I would personally, like, Malfurion has also been mentioned, because Malfurion with the whole Raven thing. Anzu has even been mentioned, as in Anzu, the Lord of Ravens. If I had to bet anything right now, I would say Khadgar, because he is the one with Atiesh. He is most likely the one who's going to use the seals, the Titan keystones. He most likely is the one who's going to try and seal the Tomb of Sargeras with these keys, and apparently unlock the way for the old gods.
Yep.
But again, that's just, pure speculation up in here. If anybody else has a different guess, then your guess is as good as mine.
I totally agree with your thoughts on that. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
The next one, the boy king serves at the master's table. 3 lies will he offer you. Man, is that great.
Ugh.
I hope this has something to do with Anduin, mostly so we can get Anduin in the story, because he needs to be in the story. But a lot of people are saying it could be Rathian too, which again, a character that needs to be... Basically, this is the, hey, remember all those characters that need to be in the story? This could refer to them, essentially, is what this is. But the 3 lies will he offer you part is my favorite. I don't know what that's about, and man, is that cryptic and creepy and awesome.
Yeah, I've heard the whole Rephion one, and when it comes to the lies, definitely makes sense. Like, it's Rephion, he will tell us anything if it makes us work with him. Serving at the Master's table definitely makes a connection. If you listen to another whisper, which is like he draws his strength from the earth, our earth. I mean, he's a black dragon, definitely makes sense as well. Mm-hmm. But then there is the boy king part, and the boy king is the one that just doesn't suit Rephion, in my opinion. He calls him, well, I mean, he does call himself the Black Prince, I suppose.
But he's a black prince, and I guess that could be Prince is a boy king, but not really. The boy king, you would assume automatically you think of Anduin.
Right.
That's just who you think of. But you're right. Another one of the whispers, we'll just jump to that really quick, is from the earth he draws strength. Our earth, our strength. Very well could be Rathian.
Mm-hmm. But then
so maybe it's both of them there. Maybe that's both of them. That's each of theirs. I don't know. But it's the whole idea of the boy king serves at the master's table. I would assume we're talking old gods here. 3 lies will he offer you. Like, that's such a creepy, well done. Whoever the writer of that one line is awesome. That's so good.
Really, really good. And the serving at the table, if we want to connect it to Anduin, you could say, because Anduin has Shadow Priest powers, and they've made the choice with Legion to connect Shadow Priest to the Void. They basically draw the powers from the old gods. You could theoretically say that he serves at their table because he is a Shadow Priest. So if you want to connect it that way, you could to Anduin. And then there's the question of the 3 lies. Like, what lies is he going to tell us? Where is that going to take us?
Yeah, man, I'm excited for that. And then this I'm gonna jump ahead really quick. I'm gonna jump over one because we'll go back to it. But 5 keys to open our way, 5 torches to light our path. I assume we all can agree those are all the things we're going around collecting. And
yeah.
We're gonna open their I love that idea that everything we're doing to fight the Legion is basically helping the old gods. So they're like, thanks guys, keep it up. I think that's great.
I'm of the mind that whatever we do here is gonna lead into maybe an expansion or something that's going to probably in some way encompass us getting attacked by a horrific old god or old gods.
We still have all of Ny'alotha, man. We still have that entire. They keep hinting at it, and that's where Azshara and everyone's chilling out at. There's this crazy evil place under the waves.
Azshara is chilling in Ny'alotha?
Yeah, she's down there in that general area. She visits. I don't know. It would be awesome if she was there, because it would make sense.
Under the sea.
Well, she could be there. Look, she's definitely down there. Anyway,
to get to the keys, by the way, another thing that if this truly means the keystones that we're collecting, the pillars of creation, it also gives a very nice explanation as to why the old gods are working together with the Legion now. Not so much because they want Sargeras to show up. They want us to stop Sargeras. They want us to collect these pillars and unlock their prisons.
Then why wouldn't they work with us?
Well, they kind of are if you think about the Shadow Priest artifact, right?
I guess that's true, but I mean, why would they side with the demons? Well, we'll get to that in a minute because someone actually brought that up, and we'll talk about that. So we'll jump on that. Man, is there so much cool stuff to talk about with this? All right. Anyway, so I think that's really cool, but let's jump back up one from my list here, which is her heart is a crater. We have filled it. That is super 100% Jaina. That is 1000% Jaina.
Nope, disagree.
What?
Oh, really?
Disagree. It could definitely be Fedamore and the crater left behind. Absolutely. But I just wholeheartedly disagree with the path of putting Jaina under the old god's corruption. Instead, her heart is a crater and we have filled it, is the maelstrom. And the old gods have filled the heart of the Titan spirit inside, which connects back to Magni listening to her, corrupt by the old gods.
Look at you, tinfoil hat man. Pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very creative theory.
Pretty good.
I still think your love for Jaina has clouded you, but
it could definitely make sense, to be honest. Like the whole her heart is a crater. Like the first thing you think of crater, Fedamore. Yeah.
Listen, Jaina's heart is filled with Dreadlord. Okay,
it's true.
Any other way?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have. I'm gonna jump to this really quick because it's just a comment, but it cracked me up. The Exile 2 wrote this on the last video. Why has no one ever talked about Jaina's sudden disappearance in the Broken Shore finale? I'm just saying she legit vanished from the Broken Shore before the slaughtering of the tomb itself happened, but no one mentions it.
Everybody mentioned it. Everybody did. It was the first thing they all said.
I don't play an Alliance character, and now that I think about it, yeah, where'd she
straight
go?
up just vanishes.
She did the let it go and made the bridge and then
and then that's it, and then peaced out. Which again, straight up Dreadlord, y'all. You don't even know.
That's a pretty Dreadlord ass.
Yeah, what a Dreadlord thing to do, Jaina. Now, I would be fine if it was also one of those. She's just corrupted by the old gods. The problem is that literally just happened with the opposite end with Garrosh.
But why does she have to be corrupted, though? Why can't she just be pissed about what happened to her? Because she has been screwed over several times.
I don't know that Blizzard is capable of writing that way anymore.
That's true. That is definitely a thing.
StarCraft, even though it isn't what we're talking about, but StarCraft is a great example of this. The idea that StarCraft 1 was just about the interactions between individuals, right? There was Minsk and Kerrigan and Jim and the Protoss characters, Tassadar and Phoenix and all these different characters. It was about their relationships, and there was no big bad. The big bad was that everyone was looking out for themselves and not thinking about the fact that Minsk had turned Kerrigan into a monster. And Kerrigan, seeking revenge, was in fact becoming that monster that everyone feared, and Jim was caught up in the middle of it all, and the Protoss were being destroyed, and so they were lashing out. And then StarCraft 2 comes along, and there's Space Devil, and everyone's redeemable, and no one's really responsible for their own actions.
I really, really hold out on hope for Jaina, because it draws back to my F as well. It's like, it can never just be out of their own motives, out of their story motives. No, there has to be either Old Gods, or Legion, or whatever, Dreadlords. For once, I would like to see a character that's actually responding to what's happening around her. And I know a lot of people are like, Jaina, who cares about Fedamore? But there were definitely some things here and there that have impact on her story. And to this day, again, we are talking about that. And I just hope for more.
But with all that said, to rep the Horde a little bit, everyone keeps forgetting about, like, Camp Taraho.
Oh, come
right?
on. A camp where people were... Okay, it was definitely
Brutally
military
murdered.
action.
Brutally
No,
murdered.
they were given the option to surrender, whereas Fedamore was just a
What? It was
freaking
their
nuke.
home! It was their home!
That was same for Fedamore. And with Fedamore, everybody's like, oh, just forget about it. We nuked your city. We didn't do anything about it.
This is why we can never be friends.
You cannot compare a camp where you are allowed to evacuate
Wow!
to a freaking nuke. That is not comparable. Not comparable. Get out of here.
All right, well, thanks, Blizz, for creating a rift between people that has not been healed over 11 years.
Forever.
Digital racism.
Yeah.
But that is the beautiful thing about this story arc, and that is why I love it so much. Like, I will always like to discuss it and always go about it, but it stirs people's hearts, and it stirs people into discussions like this. Same with the Broken Shore cinematic, like, oh, the Horde abandoned the Alliance. No, we had to retreat. It creates conflict, and as much as they tell micro-stories, as you mentioned it last time, it still stirs people with their, taking a stance in certain story arcs. I really like that.
Well, speaking of story arcs, I'm curious what your thought on this next one is, because I think we'll get to it. At the hour of her third death, she will usher in our coming. Now, I initially was like, oh, well, this is probably Elisandra.
I thought it was Sylvanas.
But then I immediately was like, well, Sylvanas has died twice already. So is she going to die again? And with her dying, that's when the old, like, I'm very curious what you think of this, because there's a lot of ways this one could go.
Well, technically, the thing is with Elisandra, a lot of people were thinking about it as well. That goes back to the rewinding time. During the battle, she rewinds time 3 times before you take her out. And that is why people connected to her. But the thing is, in my opinion, if you rewind time just before you die, you don't actually die.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
in that case, you go to Sylvanas. But Sylvanas has already technically died 3 times. The first time was when Arthas took her. The second time was when she tossed herself from Ice Crown. And the third time was when she was shot by Joffrey during the Forsaken starting area. Now, you could say they only start counting from the moment she's undead. You could give a spin to it. But it's up for grabs right now, who it could be.
I still, I think it's Sylvanas. I honestly do.
Again, the only reason why I think it's Sylvanas is because it would go great with my theory that Sylvanas ends up getting taken out. And man, would that just be great for me. For me personally, boy, would I love that.
Can I just say that I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Sylvanas last time, but on my desk right now, I have a non-licensed Sylvanas mousepad with the boobies. Like, you know those, like, the wrist one that, like, you can, like,
God
balance
bless you,
your
Ross.
wrist in between the
God
cleavage.
bless
I know. I found it on Amazon, and I just couldn't do it, and I have been using it ever since. And
You can't see me right now,
it's
but I'm
great.
shaking my head in disappointment.
And the last one is its surface blazes bright, masking shadows below. Not a clue with this one. I'll be honest. Not a clue.
I would personally say, I haven't even discussed this one during the video now that I think about it. I would say surface blazes bright, as in things are looking fine and dandy on top, but down below, and this goes back to Mr. Pandaria, special encounter, what was his name? Kipara. Where he's like, there's a shadow beneath you, a dark chasm. You can try, but I don't think you'll win. That could definitely refer to that, as in the old gods still beneath the world of Azeroth. Like on top, things might look dandy. You know, you might have a Burning Legion invasion. That's nothing. Down below are where the shadows are.
I would take an idea you mentioned earlier and throw that on this, because surface blazes bright. For me, currently at the moment, the only blazes are the hellfire, like the fellfire that's destroying everything. I would say maybe your idea that you mentioned earlier, that our beloved Azeroth Titan, while we think, oh, we're trying to save this thing, maybe it secretly has already been slowly corrupted. And maybe that's what it is.
Interesting.
I would like that. I think that's pretty interesting.
But then you have to wonder, like, okay, say that the old gods have succeeded and they have truly corrupted the spirit of the Titan inside, something that made Sargeras poop his pants and create the Burning Legion. What chance do we have at that point? What can we do?
And I guess this goes to Jesse Cox's crazy theory last week, where the old gods are messing with the demons, and Sargeras is going to see what he's done and be like, what have I done? And join us instead. Think about it. Take a minute.
Ooh.
Take a minute. Our number one enemy becomes our number one ally to defeat the old gods. And this goes to another thing someone said. Yo, I'm just weaving this stuff in. I'm feeling really good about it.
Okay, keep going.
Xanthil1, I don't even know how to say your name, man. Xanthil1 said, Jesse, there was a quote in the game that supports your theory about the demons turning on Sargeras. As a shadow priest, your weapon talks to you from time to time, and one of the lines it says something along the lines of, the soldiers of the Burning Legion are not immune to the corruption of the old gods, or something to that effect. Now, this could be the dagger just talking out of its ass, or trying to win you over, or it could actually be real. What do you think? So,
but if you're talking about the soldiers of the Legion are not immune to the corruption of the old gods, but you're talking about Sargeras siding with us, not the old gods, right?
Well, but I'm saying his like I said last week. What I was saying is that the demons, because we mentioned the demons and the old gods, it seemed like they were working together on some things. And what I'm saying is that if that's the story, that the old gods are slowly corrupting and changing the demons' minds to turn against Sargeras, then Sargeras could see, like, if he finds out that the Titan's slowly being corrupted and all this stuff, he, as a character, because the way they've made his character, they haven't made him a pure evil character. They made him a character who's confused about, like, I guess confused is a relative term. I
have something to say about that, but yeah.
I also have something I want to add to your little theory, Jesse, when you're done.
Confused isn't, whatever word I'm looking for here. He's basically a guy who has gone down a path where he says the only way to do this is this way. And he's so hell-bent on doing it that way that there might be a moment where he as a Titan could come out of his stupor and be like, oh my god, what have I done? Like, I basically set all these demons up to hang out with the old gods, which are minions of the Void Lords, which, oh my god, this is way worse than when I started. Like, that might be something that could happen. I don't know, but I'm interested to see what your guys' theories and stuff are.
So, just to add to that, and maybe you can correct me on this. So, Sargeras had a sword, right? The I'm probably gonna say this wrong. Gorshalak, is that right? Gorshalak, something like that. And at one point, they say that the sword was sentient, right? And then when he became a fallen Titan, basically, the sword split into two. And I think maybe he has one side of it. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. And if it was recombined, the sword would be of great power. One of the reasons it left him was because that he became a bad guy. If he became a good guy again, maybe he would want his sword back. I don't know. I'm just saying. So maybe there's something there.
I think that falls back to retcon lore.
Was that retcon?
I think so. Jesse, maybe you remember better than I do. I
they
believe
definitely didn't mention anything about it in Chronicle at all. That was not mentioned at all.
Really?
You had Sargeras and his lieutenant. Who was the lieutenant again? Agrimar, right?
Yeah, Agrimar. And then
Agrimar used like the shard to fight with Sargeras, but his blade was shattered because Sargeras was stronger or something like that.
I don't remember if that's... I mean, it definitely isn't the current lore, but I don't remember if that's what the old lore was. Because in the current lore, they definitely don't mention a weapon by name, as far as I remember.
It was claimed by Sargeras and forged into Gorabal, and while the other was claimed by Agrimar and reforged into Tal Shalak?
Yeah, and does it go on where Agrimar confronts Sargeras?
No, it's a pretty small article, to be honest.
Well... yeah, they definitely fight, and their weapons... Yeah, his weapons shattered during the battle. And
Agrimar gets his ass kicked, and then the rest of the Pantheon get their asses kicked.
You said you had something earlier, Nobbell, that you found?
Yeah, to fall back to the Whispers first, like, to get his sword back, that could definitely be a thing. I would have to look up what they did with the Chronicles. To get to the Whisper of the Shadow Priest, it might be talking about Voidwalkers. Voidwalkers are... very similar to the Void Lords, except they work for the Legion. Perhaps that explains the origin as to why they're in the Legion, or perhaps it falls to your theory. But to give a counter-argument, you mentioned that Sargeras could see the demons hang out with the old gods, and that would make him realize, like, uh-oh, something's up, right?
Right.
In the Chronicles, Sargeras actually finds one of the Dreadlords chilling on a planet taken over by the old gods. He interrogates him, only to discover what the old gods are trying to do. So Sargeras already knew about demons hanging out with the old gods, and it didn't faze him. It didn't push him away from his plans in that regard. He actually went about and formed the Legion after that moment. So he already knew about an old god demon connection, and it didn't really do much to him.
Well, that's good and all, but you said you had something earlier that would actually help my argument. You can't hold out on me now. You already told me you had it.
Yeah. Somebody actually mentioned in the comments about Illidan being able to push the demons away from the Legion. And this was something shown during the Warlock Greenfire questline. And I completely forgot about it, so thank you for commenting. In that one, we discovered that Illidan used one of his vials from the Well of Eternity to make a new little well. Or at least it's very much hinted at that he did that. And he offered that power to the demons, which cleansed them from their addiction to Fel. And allowed them to become his true allies. Now, it's up for grabs how much of that lore still flows over into what we're currently dealing with, but it does support your theory as in demons stepping away from Sargeras and joining someone else.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know in what way any of it would happen, but the hint that it's there, that the possibility that the old gods who, I would say, and I don't know that if you guys would agree with this, but I think we all would, that the old gods and the Void Lords are like the big bads. Like, they're the ones who are trying to destroy everything, and at the moment...
I would put Sargeras up there, to be honest. Like, you mentioned Sargeras being a guy that, you know, isn't that truly evil. But this was a guy that slaughtered his own Titanic fellows and then got engulfed by Fel, which warped his mind even further. Is there still salvation for him? And even if there is, do we want that for the story progression?
Here's what I will say. Everything we've seen so far, tell me Blizz doesn't love salvation.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that, because Illidan's getting it. Kerrigan, since we were talking about StarCraft, got it. It seems like every character who was changed because of misguided deeds and actions gets that moment of salvation. And I just feel, man, I feel like Sargeras, because they keep setting him up. Before I was like, oh, well, this is essentially Warcraft's version of the devil. Like, he's the big bad, he's the evil one. And upon reading Chronicle, I was like, oh, well, no, the Void Lords seem way worse. Like, they want to wipe out everything, not just, like, destroy the planets. They want to destroy existence. So...
Yeah, but Sargeras pretty much wants the same, except Sargeras is hoping that the universe will reboot itself.
Yeah, no, his idea is like, oh, well, I'll cleanse it and we'll start over. But the Void Lords, I mean, as long as they exist, there's no way that's going to, like, they'll be like, oh, we'll just send more things. We're fine. We're like, they're pure coalesced evil. So I'm very curious to see what they'll do with this character, because the way they set him up is they gave you a lot of backstory in Chronicle about this guy, and I'm extremely curious if he's set up on the same story as Illidan, where it's like, well, we're going to give him some redemption.
Oh, I just got a vision of Sargeras with a halo above his head and angel wings. Oh no, get it out.
Oh, hell yeah.
No.
Let's make that happen.
But to my second question then. Say that there is truly redemption for someone like Sargeras possible. Do you want that? Despite what Blizzard does with storytelling, would you like that for story progression?
Not really.
I would actually like that more than an Illidan redemption, because a Sargeras redemption opens up a window to, because currently, at least from the Chronicle stories, the Titans are gone. They may be able to come back, we don't know, but for the most part, their essence, what they coalesced as, is gone, and there's little bits of them sprinkled throughout our keepers and stuff like that. But they're like, he's the only one floating around in space right now that we know of, and I think it would be a nice way to sort of return some sense of order to the universe, if that's the route they intended to go. In order to, something has to exist to fight the Void Lords. Like, the Void Lords are, I'm obsessed with them. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm obsessed with them and their capabilities, because they're next level compared to what we've seen so far. So I don't know that I'm willing to give up on the idea that Sargeras could be turned around. I don't know that it's a very compelling story idea, but it's interesting that it could happen to me, I guess.
For me personally, it's always been, like in the past before the Chronicles, you had the lore was based on 3 pillars. You had either Titans, you had the Legion, and you had Old Gods. Trace back any story origin, and you end up at either one of those. And to put Sargeras in the redemption story arc would just take something out of the game that, in my opinion, can still drive the story to different paths and different levels. Whereas I absolutely agree, the Void Lords are out there, and the Void Lords are definitely a goal to achieve, but so is the conquering of the Legion. And if we're gonna turn Sargeras to our side, not only do we have this incredible powerful being able to completely stab and annihilate planets, you also have this terrible powerful bad guy out of the storyline, something to worry about. Whereas the Void Lords are out there, but why not, instead of cleansing Sargeras, why not cleanse the Spirit of Azeroth and have that one fight with us against the Void Lords?
Yeah, I would like to see this good Titan do something cool and help us, or basically lead the... If they're going to do this Army of Light thing, maybe have it be the leader. I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
that works.
I have a lot of interesting questions that I just don't know that we'll ever get answers to. And this goes back to my thoughts on, boy, would a Warcraft 4 be great. Like,
Yeah,
these
man.
are all
Yep.
things that would be answered way better in that than an MMORPG. But whatever.
Like, how would you do Warcraft 4? Would you tell the story of every expansion? Would you just have a bridging story right after an expansion?
I mean,
Like,
there's so
how
many
would you do
so
that?
many stories that need to be wrapped up that they could put in that game that have just never been touched in World of Warcraft.
There are just things that show better in an RTS than they will ever do in World of Warcraft. Like the Army of
Absolutely.
Light versus Darkness needs to be in an RTS. Because in WoW, you just don't get the effect. You don't have all the minions on the field. You don't have the oversight.
The only way to do that would be in a cutscene. And I don't know that anyone... Like, I would rather play that battle than watch it take place.
And the question, like, how could they do that? I mean, we have Enduin in a comic that's like 50, 60 years old. Make it fast forward and play it from there.
I kept thinking, like, what if, like, kill Jaden and his dudes, straight up betray him, and then kill Sargeras? I'm like, that dude's a Titan. You can't just... I don't know. Man,
Kick him in the shin?
Yeah. In
Get
his
Brooksy
giant
Gar out.
space shin. Like, yeah, take that. And he's like, ow.
Hell yeah.
Guys, ow. Yeah. I don't know.
toe, shit!
But who knows what is waiting in the Great Dark Beyond? Like, the way that I read it in the Chronicles was the Titans come up to Sargeras and they're like, look, listen, inside of Azeroth there is a spirit even more powerful than you, potentially. And that was, to me, a big hint, like, oh, cool, we have something even more powerful than Sargeras. We have a chance. So to me, it seemed like Azeroth itself could play a big part in that. And then there was the whole Reddit post, where they were like, oh, yeah, the citizens of Azeroth have been infused by the spirit of a Titan for all these years. And I was like, oh, that could also be a very cool concept. Instead of having a Titan itself fight, have us absorb the power of a Titan, or has us be defenders of Azeroth in such a form. So there are definitely a couple of ways that they could take it.
And I think that's cool. The problem is, and I mentioned this in our first video, God, would I hate to have a battle of a raid versus a Titan.
Oh,
Man,
please
would
no.
that disappoint me on every level.
I'm still gonna stick with my idea that I think Sargeras should be a zone and not a boss.
Yes.
Lay on his back. That's what I want.
How'd that work with Deathwing? That was the worst part of that fight. That was
Yeah,
that
but
was
he's
so-
big enough. He's big enough. We can play on his buttocks. It'll be
Just
great.
make an
I-
entire zone of it. And when you got gas, you got like blown off the area. Yeah, I got it.
So, I got some other things here. I don't know that it's particularly important, but speaking of whispers, everyone, the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron, the Ysarge, Il'gynoth, the blade, the Ny'alotha, or whatever the hell its name is, all of them mention the city of Ny'alotha. And some of the whispers, just to throw this out there, the puzzle box is like in the land of Ny'alotha, there is only sleep. In the sleeping city of Ny'alotha, walk only mad things. Ny'alotha is a city of old, terrible, unnumbered crimes. Ysarge is like, you will rest in Ny'alotha. Il'gynoth is like, N'Zoth, I journey to Ny'alotha. Ny'alotha is like, this city of elves, when you're near Suramar, he's like, this city of elves pales in comparison to the sleeping city. When you're in Stormhigh, he's like, don't be impressed by the tall icons of the Titans which stand here. The towers of the sacrifice in Ny'alotha dwarf these pathetic temples. So, boy, do I hope we get to go there one day, because in my mind, what I see is that 2-page image in Chronicle, which is that old god temple city that they had illustrated. That thing looks so cool. Man, would I love to go to a place like that.
Oh, that looks so neat. Yeah, I would love to see some crazy Cthulhu shit. Like, I just want it to get nasty.
Well, when we're talking about Ny'alotha, a lot of people are actually like, where is this place? And, like, we don't know right now. I'm personally hoping for something like the other side of the universe, Void Lord territory. I'm hoping that when they're talking about I return to Ny'alotha, I return to the source. Like, old gods were sent by the Void Lords. I would love to go to Void Lords territory, explore their planets, see what happens in such a universe. I think that would be amazing.
I don't necessarily think this is under the sea, even though I, imagine that's where they're talking about. They're like, it's under the water, it's underwater. But I would imagine maybe there's a portal or something underwater that takes us to an alternate reality, another dimension, something that is where these creatures reside. And would it be great to see the most twisted things imaginable. Just like the craziest world.
Couldn't it just be underground, though? Like, I mean, somewhere?
The initial thought process was that it was just in the ocean. And that's why I was like, oh, well, that's where Ajar is hanging out now, because N'alotha and all that stuff. I don't think any of us know really what's going on down there. And I would hope, having learned the lesson of underwater zones, we probably won't get another one. But I don't know, man, would it be great to see something wild and crazy and out of this world. And if you remember, I assume you guys do, maybe you don't. If you remember back when they announced Outland as an expansion, the Burning Crusade, the difference between what we had seen in Azeroth and what we had seen in that expansion was so drastic and stark that there were articles written at the time that were like, this is one of the best examples of creativity in a video game to date. Because it was so shocking and different compared to what other people had seen in our MMORPGs to that point. And I would love to see something that out there and crazy again, where they took chances and did some really wild stuff. I think that'd be amazing.
Would definitely look cool. Well, to bring it back to like the fish know all the secrets, a lot of people were speculating perhaps that by fish they mean the Naga.
Right.
And if you are a Shadow Priest and you finish up the Emerald Nightmare raid, you can actually go inside the tunnel, inside the cave, and you get another dialogue. I haven't seen it myself yet, but I've been told that the blade sounds scared, and the whole source of corruption from the nightmare comes from the old god N'alotha, and the blade mentions that the prison is weakening. This is the final shred of corruption that's still out there, and it seems to be either in this expansion or the next one that N'alotha is definitely going to play a part of it. And now that we're talking about it, what about the idea that Ny'alotha is near the heart of the Titan spirit inside of Azeroth?
I would be excited if it was the city they built around the Titan spirit, because that's where they were focusing all their energy. So all the minions are there working overtime while N'alotha is corrupting this thing, which would explain why, if you look on the maps in Chronicle, everyone has their own little area. And they even mention in the story, they say this keeper went here and did this to this old god. These keepers went. They barely mention N'alotha. I would be really excited if the old god's strategy here was have these three other old gods. They're the ones messing with the people, trying to keep the keepers at bay, while this other old god, N'alotha, is down actually doing all the corrupting. I think that'd be really cool.
The surface is blazing while the shadows lie below. Hey.
Yeah,
hey.
There you go, right? That's pretty cool.
Hey.
I love the idea that there's this other one who's, like, it was this multi-planned attack, and the old gods are super sneaky in what they do, and so you have all these other old gods on the surface causing chaos, and meanwhile down deep below, where the keepers can't get to, is this other one that's, like, working his magic, and so all the minions down there created this giant, crazy city where they launch their assaults on this spirit of this Titan. Man, that'd be awesome.
And then we get our expansion with the Naga, other side of Azeroth. We actually go to Ny'alotha, which is then apparently a city surrounding the spirit of the Titan, and we have to rescue her in order to liberate her and get her as an ally against Sargeras, and then we fight against the Sargeras and the Legion, and then we go into outer space, and then we take the battle to the Void Lords, and there you go. Warcraft 4.
Proof of concept of why this is a great idea. The city we're currently in now is a good testing ground for what you can do in a bigger city. Just putting it out there.
True, yeah. I'd say that definitely Saramar's opened up the doors for lots more cool shit. I'm dying to see this city. Do you think? I like the idea of it being on the other side of Azeroth, but do you think there's anything there?
Well, there's been massive hints at it. Chronicles has retconned it that in the past, the Titans named the world Kalimdor, like Land of Eternal Starlight. And in the Chronicles, they said the continents, implying multiple. Whereas Redshirt Guy also asked at BlizzCon, like, is there something on the other side? And they were like, yeah, there could be. So there's definitely potential for something on the other side. But when I was talking about Ny'alotha, I was more talking about like a different realm. See it as the Emerald Dream or the Twisting Nether, like its own pocket dimension where it can do whatever the hell they want.
I would love it if we just turn the map over and there's a giant dark city. Like, how can we never notice this thing?
Oh yes, and then Kaltras shows up with Jaina, and Jaina has been able to get ships, and then we can all set sail, and everybody loves Jaina because she's not a Dreadlord.
We'll finally get another thing we've been missing forever. And then Illyria will just show up and be like, hey guys, I've been here the entire time. Everything's okay.
I was on the other side of the planet. Who knew?
I saw some post on the forums that cracked me up because it was someone saying, I subscribed again because I thought Illyria was coming back.
Subscribing for one single thing, that must be so weird. And then again, why didn't he subscribe for the other 2 expansions where they were like, oh yeah, Larry and Terrellian, oh yeah, they're gonna show up. Oh yeah, they're gonna be part of the expansion. No.
I love that that's the thing you would focus on, is just, man, I love Illyria and Terrellian. They're my favorite characters. They're awesome, but man, have they not played a role in many, many years.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually over the hype now these days. Like, I was doing the Marksman questline where you actually go searching for her. I got a good feeling that they're gonna show up later on the expansion, because if you remember BlizzCon a couple of years ago with Madsen, where he was clearly stating like, oh yeah, Illyria and Terrellian are gonna show up, they're gonna play a part in this expansion. Then we got Warlords where they did nothing. It almost seems like that story arc has been shoved over into Legion. So I would be very surprised, especially with the whole Light's Heart quest line, and we actually got a model of Terrellian now. I would be surprised if they don't actually show up.
What happened with her in the artifact quest? She wasn't there when you went there, or she'd already moved on, or
for the quest line you go to a planet of Ny'alotha where multiple artifacts and campaigns take place. And on Ny'alotha she was apparently interrogated, and you go together with Verisa, who's like, oh Illyria, how long have you been here? A millennia? A century? Who knows? Because apparently that deep in the Twisted Nether, time moves differently than it does on the outside. And all we find of her is a bow. And it seems like she was there, except no more. She was able to rescue herself. We pick up the bow and we get out of there, hinting at something later to come. And this is actually quite interesting, because if you remember during Warlords, there was another quest line with this mysterious NPC that was looking for clues as to, was Illyria here? And we actually found a clue on Draenor, implying that...
you're trying to find arrows, I believe, yeah?
Exactly. Implying that Illyria and Terrellian have been interdimensional time travel kind of things. So I'm curious as to when they're going to show up again, and if they do...
They're Bill and Ted.
They're Ted and Marius or whatever. That's exactly what they become.
Full circle. Full circle.
Can I ask you a question? Speaking of Warlords, which, again, I fully believe was just their attempt to get people to be introduced to the characters from the movie. Anyway, at the end of that expansion, when you go up against Archimonde again, because it's an alternate reality, is that an alternate reality Archimonde where he doesn't recognize you, or is that because he doesn't like acknowledge that
not even
you guys
not even
murderated them? Yeah, I don't. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
I think they're fourth dimensional beings, and that they do so like time. But then it's like, if they're fourth dimensional beings and time is irrelevant, then defeating them is irrelevant, so... Well, I mean, that's what they've said. They've gone as far as to say that the only way you can actually kill them is in the Nether, which is fine, but I feel like Archimonde as a character should have recognized someone from that battle, right? At least one person, or acknowledged that, hey, I know we failed before with our other attempt, but this time we're gonna... Something about that fight just drives me crazy, where he shows up and he's like an afterthought to the battle.
Well, it goes back to trying to do both time travel and alternate reality. If you can't do one right, then don't try to combine them. And that's just Warlords in this case. And to the question,
Noble slam.
I mean, it's true though. Come on, Warlords was not a success. Let's be honest here.
If you can't do one right, don't do the other. Noble 2016.
But to the question, like, was it our Archimonde? There were hints from the devs that mentioned after Battle for Mount Hyjal, he picked up some new tricks. So definitely hinting at our Archimonde. But then you gotta consider time travel, which means that we have 2 Valens, which means that Sargeras minimum showed up twice at Argus, and twice Archimonde and Kil'jaeden decided to join the Legion. Is that a set point in time? Does that mean that from that moment on they merge into one being? And if that's the case, why not Velen? But then you got like this toy that you could pick up during Warlords, where Archimonde is like, Kil'jaeden, you have failed your mission, I'm taking over. Whereas in the original lore, Archimonde actually showed up at the end, and he's like, Kil'jaeden, we got other things to do. So the whole combining both of them doesn't work. And then to the question, like, does Archimonde truly die at the end? Because on Mythic, you fight him in the Twisted Nether. Because the genius editor lord that he is, he actually pulls his enemies into the one place where he can actually die. And then the cutscene goes back to Draenor, because they kind of forgot, like, oh yeah, we still need Archimonde to send Gul'dan back to our Azeroth. So does he die or not? Still no clear answer.
Can I just tell you that when I found out that the battle would involve the Twisting Nether and Gul'dan, and it was an alternate reality, every part of me wanted the story to continue in an alt reality where Gul'dan was the one who became the Lich King. And it was just a crazy corrupted Gul'dan Lich King. I was like, holy shit, that'd be insane.
I love when Warlords of Draenor was going on, everyone was like, well, what about alternate Azeroth? And they're like, nope, forget about that. Nope, doesn't exist. I mean, it's a thing, but we're not, nope, Just
what's going on
at
that planet?
Yeah, Arthas wouldn't have become the Lich King.
Yeah.
We've got, like, a lot of the evil stuff isn't gonna happen.
If
now.
anything, couldn't we use the same powers to be like, can't we just go recruit that entire planet to help us?
Maybe that
Arthas.
They would.
Maybe that entire planet never existed.
Then if that's the case, then using the same logic, the Legion could have never. The Titans could still be out. Like, it's fundamentally insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yep, you create time travel, alternate realities, and then you make the Twisted Nether transcend all realities, because that makes it a little bit easier. Oh boy.
It's. I think the issue is if you're gonna do time travel, you have to stick to one kind of time
Yeah,
travel.
exactly.
Yeah. So and this is the example I used when I was explaining it to someone. There is, and this is gonna sound really nerdy. There's the Dragon Ball Z time travel where Trunks came back and defeated warned them about the androids, and then they killed the androids, and then it created a pocket universe where Trunks now has this other a post-apocalyptic reality, so he can't change his own future. Like that's what we got with Warlords. But then there's the time travel that's Back to the Future, where when you change something, the newspaper fades away or whatever the fuck happens, and it changes.
You can no longer play
your
guitar,
history. Yeah.
and your parents have to kiss. Yeah.
Exactly, and you have to kiss your mom. You know how it is. So yeah, I don't know. They gotta.
Yeah, go on.
You know,
You're on a roll.
At the
Go on.
enchantment under the sea dance. Of course, everyone knows.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like they just kind of didn't really sit down and go like, this is the kind of time travel we're doing. It felt like really, like, too many questions were left across the board, like completely. Like, even with the Infinite Dragonflight, which we talked about earlier, and nothing, because if we were gonna go to that, and you were saying, well, they're still around, but we fixed it, we changed it, but with Draenor, it's different because that's Dragon Ball Z time travel. That's not Back to the Future time travel. Stop with it. Just stop. Just stop.
It kind of falls down to the moment that they announced it, where they were like, oh yeah, we were talking about this horn, and with the horn you could summon the spirits of these old orcs. I believe that was the first time that they tried to explain Draenor. And going from that concept and just be like, we can create an alternate reality. Just turn the portal in a different color. It's fine. And then I remember clearly with Madsen on stage trying to explain what exactly was going on. And he was like, just forget about it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's like, oh boy. Oh boy.
I was of the mind that I don't know why they use the Dark Portal again. They have a whole fucking area that's based for time travel. They could have done something with the Caverns of Time to loop that in, and that would have made way more sense.
I'm just trying to think back to Warlord's time, to be honest. Like when you try to draw back to the Infinite Dragonflight, you have to wonder what were they planning to do with Kairos Dormu, because Kairos was almost like the birth of the Infinite Dragonflight. Like his plans lined up with their organization.
Yeah. In the book, that's all the hints pointed to the reason why he was doing everything he was doing. And then Wrathion was involved. Wrathion was involved with springing Garrosh from prison. There was a plot there that died.
He was on
that
Draenor.
Just flat out died.
He was in the book. In the book of Taylor's journal was clearly Raphion's hair. And nobody saw him except for flying around as a whelpling at Khadgar's tower, and that was it. And I think that's a theme for Draenor overall. It's like, there was so much potential. Like, true, it very much felt like they were trying to set up the movie. But even that failed, because the movie is nothing like this reality. And then you'll have to explain to people that there are 3 different versions of the same character. And people are like, but what about Velen? Didn't Velen die during Draenor? No, that was alternate Velen. Our Velen stayed behind. Oh.
Yeah.
And what about this? And what about that? And it just creates so many questions.
Yeah.
I think we should end with a question. And this is a question that I don't know that we'll have an answer to, but I know we'll struggle to find one. Barbapoil asks, who is Elune? And do the Night Elf priests get their power from the same light that paladins do?
You want to go first, Ross?
I mean, I know it's a deity. I know the Night Elves love it. And...
It's the moon, Ross.
yeah, the moon. Yeah, that's what my wife, Holly, just said behind me. She's like, it's the moon! And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear your take
Sorry,
on it.
I outlawed you, Ross.
It's
My assumption was, after reading Chronicle, was that Elune was just the Night Elves' interpretation of what the light was. And the light is giving us all the Naru and stuff, and so even though even though the humans have the light and the elves have Elune, it's all connected, but like different names for the same source. Maybe? I guess that's my assumption.
Well, for me, like, the general question, what is Elune, is we don't have a clear answer for it. And I believe from the Chronicles, there were hints at the Well of Eternity, which actually inspired the Night Elves to worship Elune. Do you remember that passage, Jesse? Or Ross?
I do remember it being in there. I don't remember.
think so,
I don't have
yeah.
the book in front of me, so I don't know the exact passage, but I do remember them talking about it, which is why this sparked my whole, maybe it's all just the same thing kind of idea.
Yeah, for me, it felt either connected because, they were communicating with the well or something like that, like make a connection, and from there on they learned like Titan stuff like Kalimdor and Elune, which for me hinted at the spirit of the Titan inside of Azeroth. But if we're gonna draw it to where do the humans get their light from, this goes back to the novel Beyond the Dark Portal, so keep in mind that they might have changed their mind in the meantime. But in that book, we read about Cerelian make a connection to the light, and the light actually responds to him. And it very much felt like it was a Naru communicating with him. And then during Burning Crusade, we actually go to Outland, and wouldn't you know it, Khadgar made contact with the Naru. So it very much felt like that was the source of light. We then have a questline in Wrath of the Lich King, where the Naru actually shows up and bring this, either this warrior or this paladin with them. Again, connecting the light to the Naru being the ultimate source of light for everybody, despite their own religion or thoughts behind it. Which makes you think, perhaps it's Elune, and it's an idea they played with during Wolfheart, in which the prophet Velen actually suggested to Tyrande, like, well, this Elune that you talk about, it reminds me of a Naru. Which is something that Velen has done before to the Orcs, and when he did it to the Orcs, it didn't end so well. In the case of Tyrande, she was more polite about it, and she was like, okay, just don't mention that again, old man, it's gonna be fine. Again, hinting at Elune being a Naru. Now, during Legion, there are documents popping up suggesting that Elune is actually the source behind the Naru. And then, of course, the cinematic where indeed the moon herself tendrils down, rip Green Dragon, may you live on forever amongst the stars. From that, I would say a source behind the Naru would be very cool. I don't believe that the Chronicles specifically state what created the Naru, only that light...
Well, don't they have that chart? The chart that has, like, the diametrically opposed Void Lords, Light, Naru, and they're, like, pointing across from each other? I always figured they were all just sort of the Light and the Naru and everyone. They just were all together in that. And the Naru were the physical manifestation of the light.
Could be a thing, but I don't believe that they've actually given a source for it. As far as I recall, in the Chronicles, it was light traveling across the universe, left pockets of darkness behind, and then at some point, light and darkness crashed with each other, and from that, the universe was created, Titans rose up, and the Naru as well. If we go by that, then you would say that if we go by light and darkness crashing, that created the Naru, then the spark of creation, the light itself that was there at the dawn of time, that would be the creator of the Naru. And if that's the case, then that would be Elune, right?
So you're saying the initial spark would be Elune, or Elune would be the one that create? Like, what is your?
I'm saying that Elune is. Well, I'm not saying. I'm speculating that Elune is the light that was there before darkness and light crash with each other. Elune is the origin of everything, including the Naru, including the light. She is the origin of that. Where we have Void Lords who are the origin of the old gods, Elune is the origin of the Naru, as in she was the light that was there.
That's interesting because Elune. It's very weird that Elune has always been, essentially grouped in with all of the other lesser deities that whenever they talk about Cenarius or all those people, Elune's always there, and so the way the lore's been set up in the past is that Elune was just, kind of like the moon. Elune was the moon, but they keep hinting that Elune is much greater than what we think it is, and so I'd be willing to buy the idea that Elune was this first light.
And if that is true, now that I think about it, then she would have created the Naru, but she would also be responsible for the creation of the Titans. Therefore, the spirit of Azeroth, therefore the Night Elves that communicated with the spirit of Azeroth would learn about Elune. Actually makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're onto something. I don't know. There's a lot of backstory there then about Elune and the relationship with the Night Elves, because the Night Elves, using the knowledge they learn from using the well, basically welcome the evil into the world, and they also learn. I don't know. There's a lot there that if I were Elune, I'd be like, yo, you guys, why do I even talk to you people? Like, you're terrible.
Well, to be fair, there were like two organizations that formed from, there were multiple organizations that formed from Night Elf Society. And to say that the Highborn that followed Azara's will, to say the same as the Priestess of Elune together with Tyrande, like those were definitely two different organizations.
I would simply like to point out that Elune should have come to the trolls early on and been like, guys, you're way better than everyone else. She made them weaker. So I think that disproves your theory, really. I feel man, that sucks.
But another thing that we could say with the whole Naru creation is that I believe it's the Shadow Priest weapon that whispers Naru not being in the original state when they're in the light, but they're actually in the original state when they're shadow, which I found really interesting. That is actually that their corrupted form is not the dark form as we see it, but their light form. I thought that was awesome.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that one.
Wasn't that a part of the priest's order hall starting thing? Like they uncorrupted, corrupted, I guess now, a void gentleman?
Yeah, they have like this Naru that's fallen to the dark state, and you like extract, if you got the shadow weapon, extract the darkness out of it and turn it back to the light state. Yeah.
So I'd be willing to buy that Elune is the light, and then the Naru are sort of these things that when light crashed into darkness, that the things that were created out of it was that shadow and the darkness and those void creatures that then were purged by Elune. I'd be willing to buy that as these are my minions now. Like, they were evil, but they're totally good now. I could buy that.
I mean, this is the first time that I myself come up with the idea that it's the light at the dawn of creation, but it absolutely makes sense, because if we go by the light and shadow cycle that is resembled within the Naru itself, but not only was there created light out of the first dawn, there were also the Void Lords, so the whole light shadow thing definitely plays a part in there. Kind of cool. I wonder where that's gonna go. But the short version is we have no idea what Elune is.
Yeah, the real answer, we don't know. We have no clue. All right. Well, I think that's it for us, guys. That was a lot of discussion and way longer than the first video, so hopefully people will enjoy.
You're going to cut it up in 2 parts, or are you going to keep it as a whole?
Great question.
We'll find out when it goes live.
We will find out. So, if you have any future questions, anything you want to ask us, anything burning in your brain, or if you're just like, stop talking about time travel, guys, and never discuss it again, put it in the comments, and in the future video, we'll get back to it. I don't know when the next one will be, but when we have new information to talk about and new things to discuss, we will gather together once more and throw crazy theories at each other. Until then, Nobby, Ross, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Please don't call me Nobby.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
UFO Commander, we are the future. We're gonna take you to the future. Then we're gonna get to the future, where everyone talks like they're from the future. UFO Commander, we are the future. We're gonna take you to the future. Then we're gonna get to the future, where everyone talks like they're from the future. Hello there, old sport. It's me, Just Cox, the number one man of the land. The bee's knees, the tip-top shape, I'm swell shape, and I can make a fortune for my ass for more. Shut the balls up! UFO Commander, we are the future. We're gonna take you to the future. Then we're gonna get to the future, where everyone talks like they're from. Shut the balls up! UFO Commander, we are the future. We're gonna take you to the future. Then we're gonna get to the future, where everyone talks like they're from. Shut the balls up! Give me that! No! No! No!